This is the Certain Talk.
Hello, this is Hugo Arena, and this is the Certain Talks. And today I have a very special guest here, DJ, Run Then Crew founder, Lululemon ambassador, youth mentor, and former member of the group called Attica Blues. Let's talk with Charlie Dark today. Hey, man.
Hello, my friend. How are you?
Thanks for coming. I'm good. Are you?
I'm very good, man. Very good.
Nice.
Happy to be here.
Amazing. First of all, if you like, please like, subscribe, and share with people. We have good stories here on the channel, so please do it. Hey, Charlie.
Yes.
Man, I'm happy. I'm happy to have you here.
We finally got it to happen. We finally made it happen.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Can I ask you, like, what is your first memory with music, like, in your life?
My first memory of music in my life was the sound of my mum playing records on a Sunday.
Wow.
And she would play records whilst we were cleaning the house.
Cool.
So when you heard the music coming out of the front room, then you knew it was time to wake up and join and do your chores. Mm-hmm. My mum studied in New York, so she arrived in England with a very big record collection, soul collection. A lot of James Brown, a lot of Jackson 5, a lot of Motown, just a lot of kind of funk and soul music. So we kind of grew up with funk and soul and African music in the house and country and western.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Those were like the genres of music that were played in our house until I was allowed to touch the stereo.
And she's originally from
Ghana, West
Ghana.
Africa. Yeah.
Cool. And then she lived in
She
New
lived
York.
in the US, then moved to London.
Amazing. Cool. So you can say like she was one of your major influence in music?
Most definitely. My mum was the first DJ that I ever met.
Cool.
Because we used to have a gramophone. A lot of kind of African and West Indian households in the 70s would have a gramophone where you could stack the records on top of each other.
Yeah.
And then one would drop
like
and then
a
play,
playlist,
and then the next one would drop on top of that one, and then it would play. And so that's where I learned about selection, because it's, one turntable and it's the order that the records are being played.
Cool.
So that was kind of really fascinating to me.
That's amazing. How? When was it? Like we were talking about
We're talking like the 70s.
70s.
So I was born in 1970.
Good.
And
It's
so
good
my
era,
earliest memories, we always had music in the house. I just don't remember a time when there wasn't music.
Cool. And then your passion is started there, like, and then how do you become DJ after that? Like,
okay, so the DJ story is a really interesting one. And it basically began because on my 13th birthday, my mum decided to throw a birthday party for me.
Cool.
And so what people don't know is that I went to, during the 80s, they started to kind of integrate a lot of the English private schools. So kids that were living in the hood, kids that were kind of coming from less privileged backgrounds were being invited to take the entrance exams for these kind of very prestigious public schools, private schools. So I ended up in this school in South London. I was in school with Jude Law. If you know Jude Law, he's a very famous actor now.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So he was in the year below me. Remy Ruff, who's like a really famous graffiti and street artist, he was in the school. Florence and the Machine went there. There's so many people that kind of came out of the school. And I was in there as one of the only black kids in the school. Cool. You know, at the time when I was there, there's probably like 1,000 kids. There's maybe like 6 children of colour in the school. Mm-hmm. So I was like really trying to find my place.
Yeah.
Find my voice. My mum decides to throw this birthday party at my house. I really didn't want to have it because it meant people from, my school coming to see where I lived. And a lot of these people lived in really big houses and, we were in this kind of, small flat. And my cousin came to be a chaperone.
All right.
At this party. And basically what happened is a lot of these kind of, posh kids came to my school and they were playing like Iron Maiden records on the stereo and they're rewinding it backwards because there's like satanic messages apparently in the Iron Maiden record.
Yeah, we had that in Brazil.
And my cousin, who was like from West London, from Ladbroke Grove, really super cool. At the end of the party, she was just like, you need some help with your musical choices. So she wrote down on a piece of paper for me the information about a pirate radio station called JFM, the frequency. I think it was 95.8. I can't actually remember what it was. Maybe it was 103 points. Anyway, so she writes down this these numbers on a piece of paper. And she says, tomorrow when you wake up, turn on the radio, tune it to this station. And I just remember kind of waking up, tuning it.
Take some notes and like...
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of suddenly this whole new world of music is opened up to me. Illegal pirate radio. We lived in South London, so we were getting really great signal because a lot of the transmitters and stations were based in South. Suddenly I'm learning about, you know, like this music that I've taken for granted in my house. I'm suddenly realizing how important it is.
Exactly.
Because up until that point, it's just a soundtrack.
Can I ask you, like, what you were listening, like, in the time, like, and then she said, you need to change it.
I was just listening to a lot of kind of pop music.
Pop music,
Yeah, and I'm a big fan of pop
Charts
music.
and-
I was listening
and,
to, you know, Culture Club, Adam and the Ants, The Specials, you know, kind of popular pop music, Madonna.
Okay, just mainstream, like...
Yeah, because the
basically.
soul music wasn't fascinating to me because it was the soundtrack of our house.
Cool, yeah.
And it also meant when you heard that music, you had to go and sweep stairs, clean the kitchen, clean the
like
bathroom.
the memories there, yeah.
You know? So the pop music is an escape. The soul music means work.
Cool, yeah.
But once I tune into the station, suddenly my mind is blown because I'm hearing about this whole new scene that I don't know anything about. These, you know, warehouse parties, soul all dayers, all these DJs, these characters.
Cool.
And again, the difference between now and then is then you would hear their voices, hear the music they played, and have absolutely no idea what they look like. So that was kind of an early catalyst for getting into DJing. And basically, when you're a fish out of water, what happens is sometimes you say yes to things that you can't do because it gives you a bit of kind of respect in a school environment.
Yeah.
So literally, you know, there was a guy at school whose mum was a mobile DJ. He was like, you know, my mum can't do this gig. Can you come and do it with me? I'm like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So we go and do this mobile disco in Lewisham.
This was the first, like...
That's the first time, like
First,
mobile
yeah.
disco in Lewisham. We went and did it. And that was amazing, just kind of playing records and seeing people dance. And then I kept on pursuing. There was a guy at school who got turntables when he was 15, which at that point, 1985, no one's got turntables.
Okay,
No
cool.
one other than, you know, people who had money because they were expensive or in clubs. Even in clubs, you would go to clubs, you
Just
wouldn't really see.
one or, yeah.
You wouldn't see a Technics. So this guy had Technics, so that was, again, another head start. Got to practice in his bedroom. Every Sunday would be like 5 of us in the bedroom, practicing, mixing. And hip-hop, you know, when hip-hop arrived, I'd spent some time in New York around about 1980, 1981, just as Rapper's Delight came out.
Okay, cool.
Like literally, like it came out and I was in New York as it dropped. So that was kind of like another mind-blowing.
Oh,
So DJing was just something that I just did because it was kind of, it meant I didn't get beaten up at school. It meant I got invited to parties.
yeah.
It meant that I kind of had a bit of kudos about my name. And people just kind of assumed it's like, I'm in a school with predominantly white kids. So they're looking at me like, oh, he must know about music because he's black, he's got an afro. And I'm just like, yeah, I know loads about music, yeah.
And what was your DJ name at the time?
My DJ name, I've had a couple of DJ names. I think I was called I was called... It's so funny, it's so embarrassing.
Amazing.
I basically, we discovered Giles Peterson, but we're getting to this story later. But
Yeah, cool.
started discovering Latin music. So my first DJ name was like DJ Pucho.
Pucho?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, some fake Latin name that I made up. Then I was called DJ Safari.
Safari, okay, cool.
And then I've had The Afro was another DJ name. And I DJed under the name Attica Blues, and eventually we arrived at Charlie Dark. And I'm
cool.
not changing it now. It's like, that's the name.
Cool, yeah, very nice stories. And then you said you went to play with your friend. Did you have records at the time, or?
For my 13th birthday, I got given a record token.
All right.
And I bought 3 7-inches with that. And I bought Hey You the Rocksteady Crew, a Grace Jones record, and a record by Public Image Limited. So 3 quite different records, but connected. And that's been my kind of the basis and foundation of what I do, what I play. It's always kind of taking bits from here and there and trying to join it together and see
What
if it
they
works.
say today, open format, like play
Open
every.
format,
Yeah.
yeah.
So cool. So 3 inches, 7
3
inches.
7-inches, yeah.
And then.
And then obviously loads of my mum's records.
Yeah, you had.
Because the Reg Groove thing kind of kicked in. And then I realised I had all the records. Like I had all the James Browns, they were just there. It was just like, wow, like this record that I'm seeing on the wall in the shop, I've actually got this at home.
Yeah, Redhead, yeah.
So, you know, I was lucky in that way. And then I just became a fiend for buying records. I got a job as a hospital porter, and when I was really young, to pay for records.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Whatever I would do, you know,
Is to buy records.
I was obsessed. You know, I'm still kind of like heavily into it, but then I was like deeply.
You're discovering like it's the beginning is like that. You want to everything, right?
Yeah.
You want to buy all of them.
Yeah.
Cool. And like, and then you start to play. Do you remember the first gig party?
Yeah.
Like you played, and you got paid for it. Like you got some money. Do you remember that?
So the very first gig that I did would have been winter of 1983. I got paid £20.
Okay. At the time, it was a good money.
That was good money. Yeah, it was good money. I mean, £20 to get paid to do something that you love.
Uh-huh.
I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. And then when kind of around 1985, we started doing a lot of school parties. A lot of people were kind of turning 16. So like 85, 86, we started doing a lot of school parties for people. Had a little DJ crew called Blaxploitation. Weirdly enough, I was the only black kid in the crew. Do you know what I mean? We soon changed that name. But we started doing birthday parties. Big birthday parties. Crystal Palace Hotel.
Oh, wow.
And I was getting paid.
Yeah.
Good money, like maybe £50, maybe £75. It was good.
It was really good. Like how long you played like?
Oh, we were doing, these parties would have been starting round 7, 8, finishing at 12, maybe midnight.
Cool. Like,
you know,
3-4 hours.
3-4 hours.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a very significant thing happened to me at one of those parties. And that's when I decided that I wanted to be a DJ.
Oh, yeah. Can you tell me that?
Yeah, I'm actually... I bought the record.
Oh, amazing.
So this record...
Oh.
Rolls Royce, Car Wash.
Yeah, Car Wash, yeah.
This is the record that turned me into a DJ.
Cool.
So I'd been following Norman J around, going to Norman J jams. I'm, underage, kind of like sneaking in. And I had heard Norman J play this record, Car Wash, and just seen the reaction. So I was like, right, at this school disco, I'm going to basically play this record. And I was so excited about playing it that when it came on, the room just erupted. You know, there were certain records that they just cause a physical reaction on the dance floor. I got so excited that I picked the needle up by mistake.
Like a rewind?
No, it wasn't even a rewind. It was I actually thought I was picking up the needle of the record that had just finished playing.
Oh, okay, the other, yeah.
And 500 people just stopped dancing.
Ooh. And
they all looked at me. And it was the first time in my life that I'd felt seen. I felt heard. It was a really, really powerful moment for me. I can remember just holding the needle and just being like, wow, man, like...
You're controlling, like...
I'm actually in control of these emotions. I've never really... Because up until that point, it was just like, I was just playing records for our friends.
Yeah.
But then I suddenly realised, like, the power of a DJ. And at that point, I was like, right, I think I was probably about 16 years old. I was like, that's it. I want to become a DJ.
So the public there was unknown people, like, you didn't know them?
Yeah,
like,
they were kind of... A lot of people from South London schools.
Okay. White, black people.
Yeah,
like
very kind of, diverse. I mean, it was kind
mixed,
of, mixed. So what was really interesting about that whole kind of private school era during the 80s is that it was almost like a forerunner of the warehouse party scene that was happening around the same time. It felt a few years later, where you've got people who've got money who... can get access to buildings. But then they need DJs. So then they're kind of talking to the working class DJs who are coming in, and then so they're bringing their friends. And then you've got, the rise of the fashion kind of rise in London. So you've got the fashion kids coming, and then you've got the dancers that are coming. And then suddenly you've got this space where lots of different types of people who wouldn't normally be together are coming together because of this love of music.
That's the music, yeah.
That's emerging, this new sound that's emerging in London.
Cool.
And so that's one of my things where I like playing to diverse audiences because I grew up playing to diverse audiences. And they were really, really, really special times.
Yeah, like you took the needle and then you saw people looking at you and said, oh, this is the thing.
No one had ever, in that time, it was either sports or you had to be superly clever or you had to be a sweet boy just one of those boys that was really good looking, or you had to be able to fight. These are the 4 things that kind of made you stand out. And I couldn't fight, you know, and I'm not a sweet boy, you know, and I'm clever.
We are not.
I'm clever, but I wasn't one of those kids. You know, I was at school with people who were like really clever, you know. And so I was just like, I need to find something. And I liked football and I liked running and I liked sports. But again, I'm coming up in a time in London where there's like some really great sports people coming up. And it's very different from now where it's kind of like, you know, you hear, oh yeah, my friend's a, you know, son's a footballer and he's playing for the academy. That didn't happen then. So in order for you to do that, you had to be exceptional. The level was so high. So music was the thing that just allowed me to stand out. And also because I was like relentless in the pursuit of music.
Cool.
Beyond anyone else that I knew at that time. I would, you know, I would go without food. I would walk to the shop and walk home with 100 records in my bag by myself. I didn't care. If I heard there was music, I was going. Another significant thing about that day is the day after is when I learned how to dig.
Ah, okay.
So this this party was in Crystal Palace, at the Crystal Palace Hotel. And the shop is still there, although it's moved location. But there used to be an antique shop that had a record shop underneath that no one knew.
Oh,
but on the day that we were coming home, because we'd ended up staying at someone's house afterwards. And that was another really amazing thing at that time, is because you'd basically DJ, then you'd end up at someone's house afterwards, and then you would continue sharing music, playing records.
Yeah.
You know, because music wasn't accessible. So if someone had the James Brown album that you didn't have, or the James Mason album, you'd go to their house to listen to it, or you'd pull money together to buy a copy for the sound system collection.
Someone asked you to record in tapes that time?
Yeah, I was doing tapes for people in school. That was a big thing. You know?
In Brazil was like, if you have the record and I don't have, so please record a cassette tape for me. It's cool.
So this next record.
Okay,
Another really important.
He's gonna show
Brilliant.
you. Oh yeah.
Okay, so on the way home, you know, we're buzzed after this party because it's been the most successful party we've done.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, this DJing thing is the thing. I walk past this antique shop and they've got a little box of records sticking out. And this record, these 2 records.
Oh, Dinosaur, yeah.
So Dinosaur, L, Go Bang.
Yeah, Go Bang, yeah.
Which I bought. I didn't know anything about it.
Show for your, yep, cool.
I didn't know anything about it, but the thing that caught my eye was the yellow cover and the fact that I think that somewhere on it, the BPM was printed. Yes, on the back.
Ah, okay, that made it easier for you.
So I was just like, right, okay, so at least I know the BPM of this record. So I'm going to buy that. Didn't know about David Mancuso, didn't know about The Loft, didn't know about the history of this record, didn't know about Paradise Garage, didn't know about any of that. To me, I was just
mixed
like...
by Francis.
Kevorkian, didn't know about any of this. I was just like, the cover just, there's something about it.
Cool,
You know? And so that was the one of the records.
That's it.
Second one, Serious Intention.
Serious Intention. Okay.
Again, I would say this is one of my anthems. This is like, when you hear this record, I definitely was one of the first people to start playing this in alternative scenes outside of where it kind of was being known to play. I used to play this at Moax things a lot.
Man, I don't know this one, but
you need this.
That's why I like it.
You need this. Everyone, you need this.
I'm gonna check it.
You need this record. It's an easy record to find. It's guaranteed. There's never a time I played this record and it's fallen flat. And I had a really great memory of playing this record once at a party, and this guy came up and it was Robert Owens. And he was just like, man, you know, I love this record. It reminds me of home. This is like, again, in the 80s. I'm just like, wow, man, like, this guy's a real American guy in London. You know, it was probably in the 90s or something at the time, but it was like, it was amazing. So that was kind of, you know, picking those 2 records up. They were cheap, mind-blowing. Cool. Just had them on rotation. This is one of the first records I ever heard on pipe radio.
That's beautiful.
I buy this record every time I see it, and I give it away. Because it's one of these records that whenever I play this, particularly to a younger audience, someone always comes up and is like, what is that?
Yeah. No, you're right.
And the reason why I say that this is a record that every fledgling vinyl DJ should have is because it's a really easy record to play because the intro is so great. It's got this kind of boom, ga, boom, ba, da, ba, da, ba. Like, and it's almost like an announcement record.
Yeah.
And it's one of these records that's kind of, Roy Ayers is a bit kind of scorned on. It's like people don't really check, I feel, for Roy Ayers in the way that they should. And all I can say is buy Roy Ayers albums now.
All of them.
All of them.
Yeah.
Not even, obviously there's the classic ones.
Yeah, of course, but
the gems are also hidden on the other albums, and they're all going to go up in price soon because he's super old now. And if you saw what happened with Ferris Sanders' albums after he passed, it was like they literally tripled overnight. Roy Ayers, same thing's going to happen.
exactly, yeah.
That is
Play that bit. Oh, yeah.
Play That Beat, Mr. DJ. So this record, I'm really into Sonics because the stereo that we had as a kid was a Valve, it was a Valve stereo. So, that warm analog kind of sound is really important to me. But I remember going, walking across the road from my school to go and play football, and a car came past, and it was like a mix, and there was Sucker MCs with Play That Beat, Mr. DJ.
Oh, wow.
Coming out of the windows.
Memory, yeah.
Ford Fiesta XR2, early 80s. And I was just like, the fact they had the kid on the cover and the name belt and the fat laces.
This is cool.
And it was on Tommy Boy.
Gangsta.
I'm like, that is like the tune. And I still play this tune, I still play it now. Yeah. Great festival record. Because sonically, it just kind of cuts through.
Cool. So, 5 records, good stories.
Yeah.
Why vinyl, man?
Why not?
Yeah?
I grew up playing vinyl. And I can play on CDJ.
Yeah, cool.
And I can play in USB and play in CDs. And I was a Serato beta tester, so I was one of the first people to use Serato, and had some really funny, interesting stories kind of touring America with Serato when no one knew what it was, and they'd be like, where are your records?
Yeah.
I never did laptop.
It's here, yeah.
Unplugging the back of the stereo to kind of get the box in. But I like playing records. I like how they feel. I like how they smell. I like the size. I like the weight. There's something very familiar about them. They feel like family. And it's my preferred medium of sharing music with people, for me personally. And also because I'm playing a canon of music across kind of 40, 50 years, it's much easier to kind of explain to someone about when they're taking a picture of the sleeve as opposed to you're telling them the name of a title.
Yeah.
It just resonates in their mind more.
The artist and the title.
You know what I mean? So I just like vinyl, and it's annoying now because a lot of clubs are not really set up for vinyl. A lot of festivals are not set up for vinyl. And a lot of sound engineers haven't really come up having to engineer for vinyl in the club. So, it takes extra effort. But I kind of look at it like, as a DJ, I think you should be able to play on every format, just in case.
Yeah.
But it's okay to have a preferred format.
Which is vinyl.
It's interesting, I when I play gigs and the young kids are out there, they're like phoning their mates and being like, he's playing records. He's playing real records. It's brilliant. So I love it.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with my girlfriend this morning. Like, at the end, like in big parties, people don't care whatever you're playing, like records, digital. They are there to dance and have a good time. But for us, it's important. Like for me, I prefer vinyl too. Like,
I mean, I think there's a lot of snobbery around DJing, and there's a lot of snobbery around vinyl DJing in particular, where there's this idea that because you DJ with vinyl, then you're a greater DJ than someone who plays on USB. And I don't buy that at all, because if I was 15 and I was getting into buying music now, I'd be playing on USB because records are prohibitively expensive now. It's ridiculous.
And it's the storage too, right?
I think it's not even that. I just think it's basically the vinyl selling market has been cornered by a really small amount of people who are very much into money as opposed to music.
Yeah.
So records that aren't rare suddenly will double and triple in price overnight just because someone like,
plays,
once I price this at this price and someone pays it, that becomes the new normal. I think what people don't understand is it's preventing young people from getting into the music.
Yeah.
Because they can't afford it. So invariably what happens is they're then playing what they can off USB. So you then wonder why you go and hear people and everyone sounds the same. Everyone's playing the same records because actually they can't get access to it because, the most mundane, normal record that last week was a tenner, suddenly someone plays it and now it's 100 quid. You're just like,
Yeah.
it's not a £100 record. Well, since when did that become a £100 record? I see that all the time with records that we grew up with, that they're not rare. You just need to know where to find them. You know, and people are just basically pricing things at a point where you're pricing new people out of being interested in this because they can't afford it.
Oh man,
And you know, it's kind of, and then I think there's also this thing where you've got people finding records very cheap, selling them, telling people how cheap they found them, selling them for very expensive prices, but then the artist who made it is kind of often got medical bills, maybe isn't really kind of thriving in life, and could really do with some help.
Yeah.
I very rarely hear about people who, you know, who are selling records being like, let me hit, you know, blah, blah, blah off with some money for his medical bills this month, you know, because I've made some money from this.
Yeah, yeah.
That to me is taking care of each other. You know, I don't want to hear about, you know, how rare that record is if you're not trying to help the family, if you're not trying to help the children, you know, because it's hard being a musician, particularly as you get older. And this is the thing that a lot of these people don't realise now is like, you know, when you're in this game for a long time, you suddenly wake up, you've got a lot of music, you've made a lot of records, but actually you've sacrificed a lot of your life. And there's not very many people who care about you, you know, once the hits stop coming.
Good. See? Listeners, man.
Been in the game a long time.
Yeah.
You know, a long, long time. So, and I was mentored and trained. So this is another thing that's very different, because now you can just be like, I want to become a DJ, and then you become a DJ. You couldn't do that before. It's like, you know, there was a process that you went through, and I don't necessarily believe that the process still has to be there, but I think there are things that you learn whilst you're being the box boy, whilst you're carrying boxes for someone else, whilst you're being the speaker boy and helping them rig up the sound system, you know, whilst you're being the driver of the DJ. That there are things that you learn that basically will just help prolong your career for as long as you want it to be.
You are in the process, like, you're learning.
Yeah.
You said you've been collecting vinyl for a long time, so how many records do you have? An idea about?
I mean, it's big. It's a lot. I've got absolutely, I mean, at one point, because I collect different genres. So I collect like dancehall 45s, 80s and 90s dancehall 45s in particular. At one point, I had 7,000 dancehall 45s alone. So I don't know, it's probably maybe 10, maybe 15. It kind of varies, you know, because ultimately I've got a partner, I've got children, and record collecting impacts on the people around you, takes up space.
Yeah.
So there are periods of time when I can't have as many records as I'd like to have. But my collection's spread across 3 different locations. So.
That's all.
That's always...
everything in the same place.
No. But, you know, I kind of... I made the fatal mistake of going to Giles Peterson's house when I was a teenager.
And then, okay, tell me that.
So it was after there was a session after Dingwalls one day, which was this club that he played at, where Roy Ayers was in town, and Roy Ayers came to play at this party at Giles's house. So obviously we're all hanging out. We go to Giles's house, and I'm seeing, you know, like, again, this is probably like early 90s, the Blue Note collection.
Okay.
It was like everything.
Ooh.
And it was just, I just remember seeing them and just being like, yo, this guy's got the whole entire catalogue. And it was just a wall of records. I was just like, wow, okay, you know what? I want to have this in my life. I
want the same, yeah.
I want this in my life. No, this is really cool. I want this in my life. I think, you know, one of the things I've realised is you can get really overwhelmed by your record collection. And I really realised this during BLM, during the Black Lives Matter movement, because I had a lot of, you know, white DJs calling me up, being like, yo, man, you know, this is all going down. I don't really know what to say. You know, I don't really know how to comment. And I feel like I should comment because, you know, people are putting up the black squares and blah, blah. You know what I mean? I really feel... And I was just like... I thought it was really interesting. Because I think when that happens, it means your collection has outgrown you. Because if at a moment like that, you should be able to go into your collection and listen to Gil Scott-Heron, listen to Public Enemy, you know, listen to Otis Redding, listen to Aretha Franklin. Like really go and listen to those records and understand because what they were talking about then is still happening now. And so if you've got this music, if you've got one of the greatest collections of black music in the world and you're not really listening to it,
what it means,
then it's just a museum. And so that was for me as a collector, it was a real turning point where I was just like, you know what? It's kind of like, you can't just have a big, massive, sprawling record collection that looks great on Instagram. You've actually
without knowing it, right?
Yeah, you can't, like, you got to get deep into this collection now, which meant starting to re-listen to things. Check the B-sides, check the tracks that you hadn't checked before. And suddenly
read the
read the sleeve notes, you know, do that research. And, you know, it's kind of, I look at records DJing with the same enthusiasm that I did when I was 16 now. Because I'm 52 now. I realise I'm blessed. I've still got a career. I took 10 years out, managed to come back, get straight back in. And I'm really, but I'm now, it's kind of, DJing has changed for me. I don't even call it DJing. I call it sharing music with people in public.
Cool.
You know, I don't want to DJ at people. When I was with Mowax in those days, it was very much about, let me play this super rare record to you that no one else has got. Oh, I just cleared the floor. I don't care. I'm Charlie Dark. Wow. Whereas now I really understand it's like raving, going out, partying is a luxury. People are having really hard lives at the moment. That club night is an escape.
Yeah,
so they want to be entertained. I call it edutainment. It's a little bit of education with some sprinkle of entertainment.
Cool,
you know?
Yeah,
getting the balance, right? And that's why I say to a lot of young DJs, because I see a lot of young DJs and you talk to them, they've got every rarest disco record ever, but they haven't got foundation records. And then they don't understand why when they go and play, while these heavy records that they've played, 100, 200 pounds, aren't dropping. Because you need those foundation records
to build something,
to weave them in.
Exactly, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you need those records weaving in. That's the reason why the Royers Running Away, classic, you need that in your box.
Yeah, they think everyone plays, so I don't want to play.
Yeah.
No, play it.
You got to play it.
Please.
I should talk about this record.
Yeah, bring it.
So this is Royers, Fela Kuti.
That's beautiful.
Africa 70, original phono disc, Nigeria pressing.
Cool.
This was the record that saved my life. And the reason why I say this is one of the things about growing up in the 80s was trying to find your...
everything here.
One of the things about growing up
beautiful.
In the 80s is finding your identity, finding who you are, what you stand for. And it's a time of... The 80s was hard. There's a lot of racism. There's a lot of, classism. There's this kind of... Life is just hard. And rebellion is starting to breed in my body. Because I'm in this institution that's kind of very proper. But then I'm going to these warehouse parties, and I'm going to these parties, I'm hearing about this music, and then suddenly I'm starting to question what's happening in society. Now, often what happens when your parents have come from another place and they've decamped and landed in another country is they're not really prepared for the juxtaposition of, at home, it's Africa. We are in deep West Africa, Ghana, when we come through the front door. At school, we're in, deep Middle England. And then we leave the streets and we're in Jamaica and New York. So your behavior starts being seen as you're being rebellious. You're listening to music we don't understand. What's this hip hop music coming out? Why are you dressing in this way? Why are you questioning? What do you mean you don't want to eat meat? We've grown up eating meat. What are you talking about? All these new ideas are suddenly coming in. So I got sent back to Ghana.
Pop ideas, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
I got sent back to Ghana 3 times in the 80s by my parents. Essentially, they kind of got to the point where they're like, we don't know what to do with this guy. We're sending him to this school. We want him to be a doctor, lawyer. And he's now talking about this DJ thing. And he's doing okay, but he's not bossing the secondary school like he was bossing. The levels is a bit different.
Okay.
So I get sent to Ghana. I don't want to go. I don't want to go. As far as I'm concerned, it's hot. It's got mosquitoes. The food is different. It's just different. I don't want to go. And I end up going, and for maybe about 2-3 weeks, I'm just depressed. I feel really alone. I just want to come home. And then I start exploring. And then I discover the markets.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm literally walking across a crowd. It's like, you know, until I worked out how to use the kind of trotter bus, I'm just walking. And I'm excited, you know, suddenly, because the kids are like, wow, man, you've got like, you know, Adidas 4-stripe trainers. Like, wow, that's really cool. You know, it's kind of, I'm in this place where suddenly I realise, like, people are fascinated by me. They're interested in me. They're kind of like, you know, like, tell us about London. What do you mean? Like, you wouldn't know about London? Yeah, tell us about London. So I'm in the market one day.
You found this one.
And I find this record. You know, Music in Many Colours. And I remember bringing it home. It was cheap. I bring it home. I put it on the stereo, another gramophone, you know, at my dad's house now. My dad lives in Ghana. I've been sent to live with my dad. And Fela Kuti starts talking about 2000, you know what I mean? He's like, Africa's centre of the world. I'm like, what are you talking about, Africa as the centre of the world? I'm like, like, what do you mean? And I'm listening to the lyrics, and he's like talking about the history and the invention, you know, innovations and all this stuff. And he's like, he's celebrating this place. And I'm like, yo, I'm in Africa now, and I don't want to be here. This guy's making records about this place. Let me listen to this again.
Yeah.
Bring it back.
Yeah, flip your head, yeah.
Right. So I listen to the Fela Kuti again. And then I turn it over and I hear the Royers. Now, I know Royers from Running Away, but I don't know Royers with Fela Kuti and the talking drum and the 2000 Black.
Completely different.
I'm like, I don't want to come home. I'm good. This is brilliant.
I
You know what I mean?
belong here, yeah.
So in the end, my dad's just like, you got to go back.
Oh.
So I get sent back. And I come back clutching this. And life is never the same. This is the record that saved my life, because basically this is the record that made me realise how amazing the culture that I was growing up in at home was. It was a record that gave me the appreciation for it.
Cool.
Because prior to that, like a lot of African kids in London, we were all pretending that we were Jamaican. We wanted to be Jamaican. Being from Jamaica was cool. Being from Africa wasn't cool. You know, being dark-skinned was not cool. None of this was cool. But suddenly this record
opened the eye.
I love doing this type of stuff because for me, records is not just about having rare records to put on Instagram. You know what I mean? And it's not having about rare records for the record's sake or having records. It's about stories and history. And my whole thing is about my record collection is passing on to my son. And then my son passing it on to, you know, his children.
The generations, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because one thing I don't like at the moment is that there's some really amazing collections that are getting broken up. Because you've got record dealers, record shops coming in who are offering people, you know, they're not offering them the money that the record collections are worth.
Yeah, exactly.
But also what they're doing is they're splitting them up because they don't understand the music. So you might find an African person who's got a load of African records, but they've also got a load of country and Western records. You're just like, you know what? No one wants a country and Western. But those records are important.
There's some, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because they're part of the culture. And that's one of the things. So my thing at the moment is kind of just trying to create this collection that's either going to be a lending library where the public can come and listen, or it's going to, you know, go to my son. But it's a collection to be shared. I don't want a museum.
Oh my God, this story was so good. So for you, what makes a great DJ?
Right, okay. What makes a great DJ, in my opinion, is a combination of different factors.
All right.
For me, the most important thing, above mixing, is selection. And it's the thing I say to a lot of young DJs, is don't get so obsessed about mixing, because that will come. But selection, good selection, playing the records in the right order, that takes a skill. It takes bravery, shifting tempos.
Yeah, journey, right?
Yeah.
They build some,
I like DJs who take you on a journey, who edutain you. So they educate you, but they also entertain you. I like DJs who look like they're enjoying the music. You know, I like DJs who give out good energy.
Cool.
You know, I don't care how amazing the music is you play. If you're not giving out good energy, I'm not coming to see you. Because it's really important. I like DJs who understand what being a DJ is actually about. You know, who actually understand the history of it, have done their research.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not really into DJs who basically like play the music. Like if you play this music, but you don't represent the people and don't stand up for the people who make this music, I'm not interested in you. I've got no time for you because, you know, this is important. You know, the thing that people have to understand about records is like a lot of these records are failed dreams. No one makes a record and hopes that 20, 30, 40 years later, the record's still going to be around. You want to sell all the records that you made and manufacture.
Yeah. To make another one.
To make another one.
Yeah, yeah.
A lot of these records come from pain. They come from suffering. They come from experience. They come from PTSD. They come from, you know, a time that still exists, but is maybe covered up now. So for me, it's kind of like, we're not just in there just kind of, you know, it's like, it's more than that. We're storytelling.
Send a message, yeah.
Yeah. And I like, some of the best DJs I've heard, no one's ever heard of them. You go to a wedding and they've somehow managed to basically rock this beautiful occasion, an intergenerational room full of loads of different types of people. And they've just done a great job. I think being a wedding DJ is one of the hardest things.
Yeah,
being a club DJ is easy. It's easy to go and just mix.
It's niched, right? Everyone is there to listen. They know what it's gonna listen, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm gonna squeeze one more question here. Like, I know you played with a lot of good people.
Yes.
And you are one of the best that I know.
I'm all right. Yeah.
If you could choose like a DJ to do a back-to-back
with,
like Alive, Dead, Alive, whatever.
Who I haven't already played with.
You or didn't yet, so I don't know.
That's an interesting one. I've done some great back-to-back sets with Mr. Scruff.
Oh, yeah.
You know, he's a great DJ to play back-to-back with. I'd like to play back-to-back with Sardar Bahar.
Okay.
Or Geology.
Oh, yeah, I saw him in Jessica.
I like, because the reason why I like playing with people like... Someone said to me that a back-to-back these days is a bit like going to a bad orgy. You know, it's like there's too many hands, there's too much stuff going on. So I like to play back to back with people who are kind of either help me raise my level, or I definitely, respect and rate what they do. Sardar Bahar, Geology. Geology for me is just the master of the mix. Like that guy can mix anything together. It's amazing to watch. I saw him, go from some super house record into Junior Mervyn, Police and Thieves. Like the way it merged, like the tempos, I was just like...
What's happening?
Yeah, I was just like, what is happening here? This is incredible. So Sardar Bahar, Geology, because I don't know, I like playing with people who I don't know what they're going to play.
Yeah.
I really enjoy played with James Lavelle. That's always fun. We've kind of grown up together. The person I love to play with is Ron Hardy. Ron Hardy.
Ron Hardy, yeah.
And he's unfortunately no longer alive, but just when I listen back to his tapes... Ron Hardy...
Oh, show them. Cool.
Ron Hardy, DJ...
Oh, cool, yeah.
Music box, just check his tapes out. Fearless DJ. I like playing with fearless DJs, and I would love to play with him because again, you don't know what he's going to play.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to do a back-to-back, it should be the greatest sum of parts. It should almost be like the Avengers of DJing, is what should be happening. Not just basically because it's a way of selling tickets.
Yeah.
It's a bit like a musical boxing match.
I like that. I would love to see that, man.
Yeah.
And the last one for today, and then we're going to have part 2.
Yes.
What is your greatest strength as a DJ for you? It's difficult to say about yourself, right?
So my greatest strength of a DJ, I think, is my ability to mix and blend and tell stories with music from across the globe. Things that you wouldn't expect to go together. Mm-hmm. Being able to join those together and kind of set records up so you end up dancing to a record that you thought you would never dance to.
Yeah.
That you would never like. Because again, as I say to people, I don't play records at people. I play records for people. It's a two-way conversation. I'm very aware of what's happening on the dance floor in all aspects of it. Mm-hmm. If I play a set and I go home and the bar staff aren't happy and the security aren't happy, I haven't done my job.
Yeah, man, this happened with me, like some last gigs. The security at the door, when I was leaving, he said, man, you played some tunes. I wanted to go downstairs and says, oh, okay, man, thank you. It was it's really good to hear that, right?
Yeah. So that's the reason why, don't overstay your welcome. Mm-hmm. When you get to the end of your set, You have your last record, and that's your last record. Even if the parties always leave them wanting more.
Yeah.
You know,
One more tune.
Yeah, one more tune. It's like we'll come back next week with one more tune.
Cool.
Because people got to get home.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of. But I love DJing. I love it. It's the best. It's best. And I feel very blessed that I'm at a point in life where I get to do it. And, you know, long may it continue.
Cool, man. So as continue, I'm gonna do a second part.
Let's go do part 2.
Please, Charlie, tell me all your media, socials and everything, and people can see you, and the mixes and everything.
Okay. So, new radio show being announced real soon. Hopefully, I think probably by the time this goes out, people will know. So I'm going to be regularly on the radio on Sundays.
Cool.
Sundays between 11 and 1. You'll be able to find me. You can catch me on Instagram on Daddy Dark RDC. DADDY DARK RDC.
Cool.
I'm on Twitter.
Yep.
Under Daddy Dark. And you can always catch me anywhere Run Dem Crew related.
Cool. Check all the socials, follow the man.
Yep.
And if you could say like a final message for the people who are starting DJing, collect music.
Yes.
What you would tell them?
Set yourself a budget. Don't spend too much money when you start, and don't overwhelm yourself with records when you start. Starting small is really good. Really learn the records that you have.
Okay.
Learn them inside out. Practice DJing for 1 hour every day. Because it's an art, it's a craft, and it's a skill. Don't be sloppy. People have paid money to come and see. If you're hoping to get people to pay money to come and see you, make sure that you're performing, delivering your job 110%. There's too many people who do it because it's fun.
Yep.
Because it's like, you know, it's something to do. You know, they're hoping that they basically will, it's a way of, you know, becoming famous. At the end of the day, the most important thing is never you. It's the music. Once you forget that it's about the music, you've forgotten what about the art of DJing is about.
Oh, man. That's beautiful. Charlie, thank you.
Thank you very much, brother.
It was amazing.
Nice one, man.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Keep an eye on the second part we're gonna do with Charlie.
Yep.
And please like, subscribe, and share, because what he said here today, it's amazing. So see you later. Thank you.
This is the Certain Talk.